Alrighty, everyone. Good morning to you all. Happy Tuesday. Appreciate y'all for watching this. It is September 24th, 2024. If you guys do have questions in the comments, feel free to leave them in there. I'll try and run over those today as much as I can. We are going to be going live following this uploaded video this morning, so it will probably be on between the hours of noon and 3 or 4 p.m. this afternoon. We're going to try and do as many updates on live stream as we can through today. We'll be on live most of the day tomorrow, and then we'll be on live all day Thursday and all day on Friday covering the landfall and the impacts going inland. So if you guys don't know, as of the 11 o'clock advisory this morning, Tropical Storm Helene, now a tropical storm, sustained winds of 46 miles an hour, pressure at 1,001 millibars. So this is starting to strengthen. You guys can see here on the satellite imagery that we have a pretty big storm. This is going to be up in the 90 percentile of extremely large storms becoming hurricanes in the Gulf of Mexico. This is a very vast eastern end of where the eastern side of the low pressure is here, where all the convection's happening out. Now, something I am noticing this morning so far, we are more than likely going to start to see that robust convection develop here on the western side of that low, and on the southern end, you can clearly see the spin circulation there where the hurricane track is at. Depending on how quickly this can get itself together, I do have the anticipation that we could potentially maybe see a hurricane before the initial track upgrade. It's not expected to become a hurricane until tomorrow morning around the 7 a.m., 8 a.m. time frame. So if this were to rapidly intensify, and it could do that potentially, then we could see a hurricane before, but this is going to have to do a lot of things through today if it's going to get to that point. Hopefully it doesn't. It stays on the track that it's at, but right now this is really starting to organize a little bit more, starting to see those convection bands pop up a little bit more. So other than that, that's really what we've got for you as of the latest right now. And we'll go ahead and show you guys that water vapor imagery or the clean air imagery here so you guys can get a better idea on the cloud tops here. And like I said, this is more convection on the eastern side of the low, starting to see convection bubble up on the southern end and more convection on the northwestern end of that low, and that's going to continue to convect and bubble up, and then we'll start to see this thing organize and become more of a confined center and more of a look like a hurricane, basically. Right now, if you're up here in Florida, getting your preparations ready now. If you were in Florida, the Gulf of Mexico here, from Tallahassee, or more than likely, I would say Mobile, Alabama, all the way to Cape Coral, you're going to have impacts. We do have hurricane watches and tropical storm watches and warnings out. I'll pop those up here in just a minute so you guys can see. The initial track does call for a hurricane by tomorrow morning, and then rapidly strengthening from a Cat 1 hurricane to a Cat 3 hurricane by Thursday morning before making landfall Thursday afternoon in the Apalachicola, Tallahassee area. So that track did shift a little bit further to the west on the update. Or a little bit further here to the west on the update. So now Panama City is morely in it on the cone. If you're on the western side of the cone, you're going to see more rain and more wind. The tornado threat will be on the eastern side of that cone, where the dirty side of the storm is going to be at, where we'll have more rain, more winds, and then we'll have the hurricane force winds that expand out with that eye wall, depending on where that is once we get to that point. The inland track here does call for still a pretty strong storm. We're still going to have a tropical storm as far as Atlanta, Georgia. Back up here into Kentucky, Tennessee, western North Carolina, going to get a lot of rainfall. Back here into parts of West Virginia, and up into Indiana and Illinois. That cone goes as far as Chicago there, where we could still have a tropical depression or tropical storm somewhere in this slot once this moves inland on Friday and Saturday. So this is going to be a very quick moving storm. We're also going to have another low pressure that's going to be somewhere here over Arkansas and southern Missouri that's going to help pull this thing to the west. That moisture will kind of get wrapped around both lows here, and we'll just have a big old rain event for majority of the weekend here through in the beginning of parts of next week. So that's just something to be mindful of. But once again, if you were along the coastline here, your time is running out to get your preparations in place. You need to have preparedness plans, especially in that landfall range, which is going to be from Panama City over to potentially Cedar Key, Florida, and where that cone is at. More than likely, landfall, like I said, going to be between Apalachicola and Tallahassee there. So be very mindful of that. Storm surge is going to be a huge, huge problem. We've got the potential for catastrophic storm surge as we go through the next 24 to 48 hours here into the Big Bend there of Florida. One other thing I want to jump to really quickly, we did have Hurricane John make landfall last night around 10 o'clock. That was a Cat 3 hurricane. That storm is now weakening over the central Mexico area here, so be mindful of that if you're over in Mexico and you watch my videos. The rainfall is continuing to add up there. They have forecast over 30 inches of rainfall in parts of Mexico down there. So be very mindful of that. Really quickly, I want to jump to the severe weather threat for today because there will be a conversation for severe weather today as well on the stream. We do have a marginal risk for severe weather today. Wind and hail will be back here into central Oklahoma and northern Texas along the Red River. Interstate 35, Oklahoma City, Wichita Falls, you're in that marginal risk. We have a pretty decent sized risk zone today for severe weather, and this is associated not with our hurricane, but with an upper level low that's still sitting underneath the lower Ohio Valley here, and we've actually got a 2% tornado risk that is in that yellow shaded area there for parts of eastern and central Kentucky back into West Virginia, southern Ohio. Be very mindful of that. Could see a spin up tornado today. We've also got that level 2 risk for damaging winds, as well as a marginal risk that extends out from southern Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, parts of PA, all the way down here into Tennessee, western North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, and into Virginia and West Virginia for wind and hail. So conditional risk for a lot of people today. We'll see a couple storms that could potentially go severe, and then we'll have the rain move in with that as well. Another thing to be mindful of today, or not today, but going forward, starting tomorrow, we will start to see outer bands work their way into Cape Coral, Tampa, the western side here, Florida, Key West as well, under tropical storm warnings and hurricane watches, as well up as far as the Tallahassee area and Apalachicola area. But we will start to see the potential for maybe a tornado threat arise tomorrow afternoon, and we'll talk more about that on the stream today. Once those outer bands move in tomorrow, when that center becomes just to the west of Florida, we'll have more information on that for you guys later. Now, I want to go ahead and talk about the impacts. What are we going to be seeing with the impacts as far as this system goes? We'll go ahead and go to the National Hurricane Weather website here and show you guys what we're looking at here. This is going to be the storm surge, and we have not seen storm surge this high in quite some time. Anytime you get that purple shaded color or the red shaded color, we are talking 10 to 15 feet of storm surge, and that's not water from the rain, or that's not the rain falling. That is ocean water going off the ocean onto land. That is 10 to 15 feet of storm surge that could be possible in that area, as well as fresh water that could fall on top of that. So you're at about, 15 to 16 feet of rain with the rainfall mixed in with it. On top of that, it's going to be a big problem here with the storm surge, especially when that landfall does happen. We do have storm surge 1 to 3 feet down here towards Key West, Florida Keys area, 2 to 4 feet from Flamingo up to Bonita Beach, 4 to 7 feet from Inglewood, middle of Longboat, Tampa Bay area, 5 to 8 feet. So be very mindful of that. Just because you're not in the cone doesn't mean you're not going to see impacts. This storm is very, very vast. It's very, very big. Those impacts are going to be a pretty big problem going well inland, and especially with the rainfall and the tornado threat, especially as we go towards the landfall time frame. Now, like I said, 10 to 15 feet, guys. That is a lot. That's catastrophic storm surge in a sense of things when you're talking about a landfalling hurricane. So up here from the Tallahassee area, Cedar Key area, back up here into Horseshoe Beach, be very, very mindful of that. 5 to 10 feet near the Apalachicola and Tallahassee area, as well as Mexico Beach, seeing 1 to 3 feet. So we're going to continue to update you guys on those totals. Rainfall totals, believe it or not, the highest the rainfall totals are going to be is at the landfall mark there in that eye wall where we get those 1 to 3 inch rainfall rates per hour. And then back up into western North Carolina. If you live in the Appalachian Mountains there, be very, very mindful. 8 to 12 inches plus of rainfall just east of Asheville. That's where I used to grow up and I live. I'm very, very familiar with the flooding events that we get with these remnants and these tropical systems. So you would think the heavier rainfall would be where the landfall is at. That's not true all the time. You get the rain enhancement off the mountain slopes here in the Appalachian Mountains. You get more runoff. You get mudslides. You get a lot of problems with the rain. So up there in western North Carolina, Tennessee, northern Alabama, northern Georgia, and northern and central South Carolina, you guys got to be very mindful. A good flooding potential on its way here. Very, very much needed rainfall, but not over a short period of time. And we could see a very, very significant flash flooding event for a lot of people in this area here. Back up into Kentucky and Illinois and Indiana, 2 to 4 inches, and then some 3 to 5 inch spots back here into the eastern side of Missouri. So it's not always where landfall's at. Like I said, it's well inland that these impacts are going to be fed at, and we are still potentially going to have a tropical storm as far as inland. So those tropical storm force winds could be as far as western North Carolina and Tennessee on Friday afternoon. Flash flood potential, once again, here in effect, we have 4 levels of flash flooding that we go off of. It goes from 1 to 4. It goes marginal, slight, moderate, high. I would not be surprised if we were to get some type of high risk somewhere concentrated in this area. But there is a moderate risk from the southern end of North Carolina down into parts of South Carolina, Georgia, and the Panhandle of Florida here, as we've also got a slight risk in parts of Arkansas and Missouri, as well as into Virginia and the Mid-Atlantic here, and then back up in that marginal risk, we've got a lot of people in the Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic here, and lower Deep South areas. So there's a lot going on, guys. There's going to be a lot of issues. This storm is going to cause a lot of issues. If you are not prepared, you need to be prepared now, as this is going to cause significant and catastrophic damage for a lot of people. So I want to show you guys the model run here really, really quickly, just to kind of give you guys an idea on what the GFS is throwing out, and then we'll talk about the Euro, and then we'll call it a day. Here's what the GFS has got. It's got a 984. It's backed off a lot on the intensity. Landfalling on the GFS run that's coming in currently for the 12Z does have a 972 millibar low landfall. That is right at Cat 3 status. So that is what is being forecasted. A lot of that rain working its way into the Carolinas already on Thursday morning and Thursday afternoon from those outer bands that'll start to come in, as well as that low to the left there will have that rain already ongoing. Then that starts to get pulled to the northwest. It goes right over western North Carolina, dumping, heavy, heavy, heavy rainfall, guys. And then that low, we get a Fujiwara effect where you've got 2 lows that are going spinning around each other here. It's a very, very interesting meteorological term that's used. It doesn't happen a lot. So when this does happen, it's very interesting to see kind of unfold, but it's when it does unfold, it doesn't cause sadly it does cause a lot of issues. So both of those lows kind of wrap around each other. They'll merge into the one that's over into the lower parts of the Ohio Valley here, and then we'll basically have this low just dump rain all weekend over the Ohio Valley and the Tennessee Valley for you guys. The European model run also, I believe, showing a little bit of a weaker storm as well, which is a good thing. The hurricane models, guys, they're spitting out their nonsense. They're still spitting out Cat 4s and Cat 5s. A lot of them are, and that's due to the water temperatures just being so warm. It's been a trend for a while. Do I see the potential for a Cat 4, Cat 5 hurricane? No, I really don't see that happening. I could see a Cat 4 if this thing went through rapid intensification through today and the next 3 days before it makes landfall, or 2 days here. I don't see that happening. With the storm being so big, it's trying to, like I said, convect and get itself together. The bigger the storm, the less time it has to rapidly strengthen. The smaller the storm, the quicker it could rapidly intensify. That's always what I tell people as far as the overall potential goes. European model run also in sync with a 983 millibar low landfall here in the Tallahassee, Apalachicola area, so be very, very mindful of that. That's where the impacts are going to be at, and then that rain will surge north. We'll have the tornado impacts. I do think we'll have a pretty significant tornado risk on Thursday and Friday back from western North Carolina into Florida on that eastern side of the low, where that wind speeds and go in different directions. You'll have a southwesterly to northwesterly flow, counterclockwise spinning photographs as well that do favor tornado genesis. So that's something we've got to be mindful of. Guys, like I said, we're going to be going live through majority of the day today. We'll be on and off here throughout today, and then tomorrow and Thursday, wall-to-wall coverage all day from 7 a.m. to it's basically over with. So I will see you guys on stream. Make sure you guys share this out with somebody if you watch this all the way through. Let them know what's going on. Let your friends and family know. This is going to be a significant event, and we'll be here to keep you guys through the thick of it, okay? Be safe, be weather aware, guys, and I will see you guys on stream today.